here at that conference in the Wisconsin Dells, and today we have Savannah joining us here on this episode of This or That, and also just quick questions with Pangea. So Savannah, welcome, and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh boy, I love that question. So my name is Savannah Boedigheimer. I am currently, this is my senior year of college for my bachelor's degree, which is crazy. I've been coming to that conference since I was 9 or 10 years old. So I've been to every one, including all the ones in Texas, which is crazy. This is, I think, my 5th conference being part of the crew, and I am currently Clark's intern.
You are kind of in tech, kind of not in tech, so I guess explain a little bit more about that to me.
So, I actually, when I was 13 years old, got this passion for teaching others, especially like presenting. So when I was growing up here, this is I think my 7th or 8th year presenting at that conference. And the first 4 years or so, I did a lot of computer programming basics. So Hour of Code was a huge one. I did that for 2 or 3 years. Building a website with HTML and CSS, kind of the basics. So I know code. I just didn't go into computer programming because like I said, I have more of the passion for the presenting, the conference aspects. I really like that community and everything, because of that conference. That actually kind of set me up for my whole career. I just wanted to be as involved as I could with some kind of entity like this. So I went for library science because I also love research and writing, and I'm like, this kind of combines everything. So that way my passion for tech, I'm also doing emergency management, so my passion for that. Really all of my passions, I have too many, kind of all intertwine into library science. So it's pretty cool.
So you are an extremely, I think the word that is coming out nowadays is called multi-passionate.
Yes.
So you're a multi-passionate, multi-talented individual.
Yes.
And I guess I'm curious, is like, how did you get to this, and how did you, discover all of these passions, and now you're in emergency response
management,
emergency management, and library sciences, and combining those, that's like a huge conference, like management, event management, like that's a whole pipeline, and it's a skill set, and I guess it does translate really well to that conference. But I guess, just tell me a little bit more about all of this.
So me stumbling upon emergency management is kind of a funny story. Basically, I met a guy during COVID through my university who was majoring in emergency management. Dated him for a while, didn't like him, liked the major. So kept the kind of field. I ended up minoring in it because I needed a minor to be able to graduate. I'm like, I like what he's doing, don't like him, so I'm gonna steal his ideas. So
that's, some of the best ideas come from people we come across in life, and that's awesome.
Exactly, and it's one of those as well, you can see what other people are doing that they are passionate about, and you can say, how does that relate to what I'm passionate about, which I think is a huge part of open spaces here.
Yes.
Because that kind of brings together, hey, I'm passionate about this, I am too. How do you implement it into your life, rather than a presentation where it's just how do you implement it in general? You can have those conversations and talk to people about, this is my passion, this is how I implemented it into my life. You can implement it the same way, you can take my idea and run with it. There's a lot of great conversations that start that way.
Yes. I mean, the open spaces here at that conference are basically discussion circles. So they will present a topic, and people will gather and discuss, their perspectives, their experiences with that certain topic. So one of the topics that was really fun that just happened, I think, was cybersecurity for small businesses.
Yep.
And so that was a really fun topic of, what do small businesses have to be concerned about with respect to cybersecurity? There has been this latest development in the tech space with respect to artificial intelligence and that trend. I guess, do you have any insights and perspectives into that?
Well, I will say the amount of college kids that use AI for their homework is kind of disturbing. I think it's got both positives and negatives. My mom talks about it a lot. You met her earlier at this. She works for the Small Business Development Center, and which is a great organization. But they were talking about, and I kind of got looped into the conversation about, your ideas can be implemented into these free AI learning, I don't know the exact term, but basically you're feeding them your ideas and they're going to give it to other people and they're going to start to implement it into their technology. So really when you're using those, what's the cost? You know, it may be free, it may save you work and time, but you're sacrificing your own intellectual property for it, which is, you know, library science. That's a huge part of what we do, is we help you find and correctly use things. So at what point is that going to be, you know, unfair use? When is that going to be copyright infringement? Because your ideas are your rights.
Yes.
So at what point is that going to become an issue, especially in tech when it becomes code? Because, you know, GitHub, and I believe it's GitHub, and all those places where you can share code and with other developers, you know, I've always heard, don't just copy and paste someone else's code. But that's exactly what you're doing with AI.
Yes.
And when you don't know exactly who it came from in the first place, because it's learning from someone, what exactly are you getting yourself into?
Yes.
So those are kind of my concerns with it, kind of also a little bit of what I've heard from others. But yeah, at what point is AI going to be, what rights does it have, and whose rights are you using? That's kind of my thought process with it.
A topic that you brought up earlier, before we started recording, was disability in tech. And I guess, did you want to elaborate more about that? Did you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I actually have a central auditory processing disorder, which means my brain can't interpret what my ears are hearing. So I hear extraordinarily well, including the banging in the ceiling right now. Sounds like someone's walking on the roof. But I have like extraordinarily like above the charts hearing, but my ears are inputting so much information, my brain doesn't know what to do with it in the first place. So it just becomes overwhelmed. That's kind of how I describe it. It's also dyslexia for hearing combined with a bad cell phone connection, so I miss a lot, you know. And there are a lot of issues in the world right now with especially ableism. I believe Special Olympics did a study and they said 7 out of every 10 social media posts include some negative aspect of people with intellectual disabilities. And, you know, not everybody accepts it, but there's enough people that do. And even like our everyday language, like turning a blind eye, well, it might seem like nothing, or like, oh, I'm so ADHD, I'm so OCD. That's actually can be just adding to the stigma. There's so much to talk about when it comes to kind of disability advocacy. I mean, to be a good advocate, I actually read this on a LinkedIn, but there's a kind of a magic question. If you meet someone who's disabled, you can say, oh, I've never met someone with your disability before. How can I help you through the situation? Because a lot of people have kind of interaction hesitation or discomfort. Like there are a lot of factors that kind of play into ableism. And sometimes it's completely unintentional. You're like, I don't know how to handle this situation.
Right.
Some people take it to the extremes, you know, like, oh, I'm going to be so nice, and then they're just like kind of smothering and they don't actually help an individual. And then there's also the other side where it's you're just going to ignore them completely. I can't tell you how many times I go places, restaurants, even doctor's offices. I've had them go get who drove me there and talk to them because they won't talk to me because I said I have a disability. So they will only talk to whoever brought me. Whether I want them to or not, they violated HIPAA a number of times because they're like, we need a representative then. And that's not necessarily necessary.
Yep.
I used two of the same words in the sentence. It's okay. But it can be very difficult living with a disability, especially an invisible disability, so no one sees it. So because they can't see it, I feel like that adds to they really don't understand.
Yep.
So it's really important to talk about those sorts of things and even do some research, like I believe it's JAN, Job Accessibility Network, free resource that has an A to Z list of disabilities, which has a definition, kind of what they struggle with, and key accommodations. So that way, if you are working with somebody and you know that they need help with something, you are able to help them advocate for themselves, or if you are a disabled individual, to advocate for yourself. Or even as an employer, advocate for, hey, you know, we want to support our employees as best as we can. Here's where we can start. So I think it's really great to have that conversation, have that out there, and just be kind to others. So.
Agreed. I think kindness is definitely something. It's like if you always be kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never be so witty that you forget to be kind. If you would like to know more about disability and accessibility of the accessibility of those disabilities and like what you should be doing, go to
The Job Accessibility Network, I believe is the full name.
The Job Accessibility Network. It's jan.org. GIF or GIF?
It's GIF. You're sending them a gift. It's a GIF.
Is coffee supposed to be hot or cold?
I don't drink coffee, but I would say hot because that's like the traditional.
Okay. Are treats supposed to be sweet or savory?
Treats? Sweet, definitely.
Vim or Emacs? Which like IDEs? Like, what's your favorite IDE? It's okay to say none.
Fun.
Vinyl or digital?
Oh, vinyl. I actually paint vinyls. They're so cute. I'll show you.
So cool. iOS or Android?
iOS. Definitely iOS.
Is the Earth flat or round?
You have to get me with this one. Definitely gonna say flat. I like the conspiracy theories. You can get me with those quite often.
Oh my goodness.
I'm aware the world is
crazy. Yeah.
It's much more fun to live in delusion.